Okay, so slept really awesome, and I stayed up late last night because I had a lot I was getting done, and I had a lot of energy. Where that energy came from, I don't even know. But I guess I must have finally assimilated to the environment, and my energy came back, and everything is perfectly fine. My dog slept very well last night, and she got up with me, and she did all of her business. So I really can't complain right now. I went outside, took her for a walk, a little bit of sneezing, but no big deal. So I want to mention this thing with food allergies, because you gotta understand food allergies. It's not like you're like the food's poison, and your body is saying, okay, don't eat this food, because people mistaken or mischaracterize symptoms as a bad thing, not just the body going through a conversion process. And so I remember when I was first doing the J juice way a couple years ago, and I was in the process of purging out all those little viruses that were probably antibodies that were programmed against the food supply because someone was using food as medicine. And so that probably also contributed to my PMDD, because I remember eating a steak and feeling symptoms the next day as if I was getting PMDD again. I remember going to a bar and eating some fried food early on, and the peanut oil and whatever, I just got so like sick. At the restaurant, I was sneezing, blowing my nose, sneezing and blowing my nose, and I had to go and lay down for like the rest of the day. And then I'm like, oh my God, did I get food poisoning? Oh my God, I can't eat this food. I mean, that's when I thought that I couldn't eat so many different foods because my body was reacting to it that way. Little did I know at the time that I was actually purging out so many little antibodies that were programmed against the meat, the milk, the cheese, the eggs, the oils, and all of that. And so that's why people feel like they can't eat food, because not only do they take in antibodies that were programmed against the DNA that were food proteins, but they probably did use certain alchemy that had food proteins against their DNA, and the body had an anaphylactic reaction. And so at some point when you do the J juice in the beginning for the first time, you will be sensitive to food. And it's not like the food's going to be poison. It's not. You now have to actually recalibrate and convert that energy from that food and turn it into something that you're going to use. And that's going to mean, that you'll be blowing your nose. And what is the mucus again? It's the body replicating. It's the body finally using the food, and it's actually replicating. It's reproducing. But what is it reproducing? You'll never know. But it doesn't even matter. You could be purging out something and the body's recoding and purging out, or you could be, taking on stuff that the body doesn't want, which is your own antibodies that is purging. And so there's a whole plus and minus going on simultaneously. And you can't assume that it's plus, and you can't assume it's minus, just minus. It is a combination of both. And you're not supposed to figure out which one it is. Okay? And so eventually, when I went back to that same bar and ate the same food, and it was maybe a year later, I didn't have the anaphylactic response. Well, would that be like a food allergy? Yeah, that's all food allergies are, is that the body is taking on programming, and it was programming against the food supply. Well, it's programming against the body, food against the body. And then I'm thinking like, well, shit. Like, what is a person when they have a food allergy? Like, what? I'm just trying to think. What? Like, how long would it take? What do you? I mean, who knows? I mean, the person's taking something that's against their body with the food supply, or they inherited something from their parents, or why didn't it come up? Why didn't it come up? Well, I'm sure it had that antibody that was part of my PMDD. That's the thing, is my PMDD had so many freaking symptoms. And that's why they said that you got to stay away from coffee. You got to stay away from soda. I mean, I remember when I was telling my mom this, she's like, well, what are you eating? Are you drinking coffee? Are you doing this? And she was shaming me for eating foods that I'm like, dude, I want to eat my food. I want to have my coffee. And she's like, well, then if you want your food and your coffee and you have any symptoms, and that's your own fault. And I'm like, and that's how the medical holistic system shames people into eating, because they're getting symptoms. They don't know why. It's been mischaracterized. And then also they're not given a means to purge out those little antibodies, because that's what goes on is those antibodies, they get held back by the immune system certain times, and then something triggers it to come up and produce symptoms and mucus or whatever, feelings of nausea or whatever feelings you have. And so how does a person then overcome their food allergies? You got to do a little bit at a time. And yeah, you got to do the J juice to release those little demons, because they are the ones that are causing the triggers in your inability to deal with food. And then you have to actually just blow your nose. That's when you have to blow your nose, because you will get mucus. That's why people have issues with that's why people don't want to eat the foods when they're allergic, right? Because they don't want the anaphylaxis response, but they also don't want to be blowing their nose. They don't want to be pooping. They don't want to feel whatever feelings. And I'll tell you, after I was eating that food at that bar, and it wasn't poison, it's just food, but my body was so sensitive because I was bringing up antibodies that was causing that response. And yeah, you don't want to be sick, but you're going to, here's the thing, if you want to be able to level up to this environment without relying on therapies and then passing away someday, you're going to have to face every single freaking demon that's inside your gut. Like, seriously, you're going to have to face it. And it's going to be stuff that you're going to have to revisit. Old memories. I was watching last night Total Recall, the remake, with Colin, whatever his name, whenever he's like, or not British, but he's Irish or something. And I remember, oh gosh, they're talking about memories. Rekall is like getting memories where you don't have to leave your house or leave your little pod, and you can have memories implanted, and you don't have to do it. And people pay a lot of money for that, to have those memories. Well, what do you think the immunology is? You're taking somebody else's memories. So when you're taking a vector therapeutic that's being given by all the different agencies out there, you're taking on somebody's memories. That's total recall. And then when people have like responses to those memories, people don't like it. Yeah, I understand, but you still have to assimilate, but they're not prepared to deal with those total recall memories. Because what it is T-cell antigen producing B-cell memories. And there are T-cell memories too, but total recall is all about the immunology. But they turn it into entertainment and turn it into something like creating a simulation, and then you can't tell between reality and a synthetic reality. And that's the thing, is people are not building up their own immunity. They're taking on somebody else's memories. It doesn't last very long. They have symptoms. They're like, oh my God, I got to go get another boost of a memory. And then it becomes an endless game. And then they have atrophied their ability to release to their nose and their sphincter. And so now they have all these memories in their gut that's copulating with each other, creating new viral babies called new pandemics in your area. And you wonder why the cycle of therapy and symptom and therapy and symptom and therapy is a never-ending game. And then you will be stuck to the medical holistic system that work together hand in hand, and all the shamans and the witches and the warlocks and the wizards in your area, whether it's South Africa, East Africa, North Africa, West Africa, North America, South America, East America, West America. I mean, all places, I'm telling you, every single culture, religion, ethnicity has their race of witches that are using alchemy to not only produce another viral baby, but also implant you with somebody else's memories. And then people were like, why do I have all these weird dreams? Well, I wonder why. You're surrounded by a bunch of people. You're not releasing those memories. And also you're taking the therapies that have somebody else's memories in them. And then you're like, you're having these weird ass dreams. So yeah, I can now understand why I had the weird ass dreams when I was doing the J juice, because I was purging out other people's memories I picked up everywhere I went to. as well as whatever therapies I underwent when I was in the military, because the military was giving us stuff left and right. And I re-enlisted. I think I went in twice. So I went through MEPS, which is the Military Entrance Processing Station, twice. So I had the gamut of all the different therapies. I was probably over-therapized when you think about it. And so you're collecting these memories in your body, and then the memories are also doing stuff to your hormones, causing them to turn on and off. And then people wonder why they either get bigger and bigger and bigger, or they get more emaciated. They're skinnier and skinnier and skinnier. Some can kind of hold on to those memories, and it's kind of like a relative equilibrium. But then you see people who then age. They age out of that whole total recall type of simulation. And those memories are actually cannibalizing them. And they're too afraid to eat food because food's painful. That's why people can only eat like a certain amount of food, because it's painful. And so when someone is emaciated and they're really, really skinny and they're metabolizing food that quickly, leveling up to the society where you have to eat food and actually have a proportional body relative to your environment is painful. And then when you get exposed to new viruses, it's painful. And then people get stuck on all the painkillers until they are rest in peace, because when you are trying to kill the pain, that's life. It's about life, conversion, and then balanced reproduction. And so, I'm changing the simulation of the Judeo-Christian and all the different religions and the Wiccans and the whole, that whole platform of somebody died for our sins, or you're supposed to die someday, and convert the dying and what is it? Living, dying, and reproducing, which is the current simulation right now, to then life converting in a balanced reproductive way. And it's about life conversion and balanced reproduction, because it's all about converting energy in a balanced way. It's not about being cured all the time, not in this environment with this type of COVID-19, plus then all the other viruses that are going to be on top of that because of all the antivirals. And you're seeing them already telling you, again, the Marburg virus, Ebola virus, those are going to be the antivirals. When someone takes an antiviral for the Ebola virus, the Marburg, the dengue, the yellow fever, the Zika, then you're assuming that that is in the population. Well, yeah, someone's going to have it. They're going to take, the antiviral. It's going to create another viral baby. It'll be a new strain. And someone's going to inhale it. Because remember, plus, like negative times a positive equals a negative equals entropy. And that equals fertilization, new viral babies, new strains of now a combination of the antivirus and the virus, or the antivirus, whatever, the antiviral of Marburg, and then whatever COVID-19 and whatever else is housed inside of you. And you see then, that different areas of Africa had the Ebola, and they're going to take the antivirals, and then, people are going to be like, oh yeah, I took an antiviral, everything's great, and they're getting on a plane, a train, an automobile, and they are producing spores. It's inseminating people around them, and all of a sudden we now have a pandemic in this place, this place, this place, and now you see hot spots come up everywhere. And so you got to realize you're going to have to face all your demons, because you will be taking on new ones, and you got to leave room for new ones. And it's not a bad thing, it's just leveling up. But if you already are you have so many memories in your gut, it can only hold so much. And yeah, you could do you could be in a labor intensive, field, or you're doing exercises. But remember, just because somebody is relieving pressure from all the memories in their body, doing exercises or being in a labor intensive world, they're not releasing the memories that are cannibalizing them, and it's causing them to age. And they're in pain all the time. Well, yeah, because those things are inside doing stuff. You can just see there's the lights, if you were to put somebody under infrared, you can see whenever they get exposed to a new virus that's causing the triggers, you see light here, light here, light here. That's all the different pain, the hot spots. And so, you will age faster in this environment if you don't recalibrate. And people who are immunocompromised, we'll see, they'll get out of remission in their issues, because there's cell replication going on inside. Things are changing, the cells are changing because of the exposure. When you're triggering your immune system because of crowds of people and all the stuff people do when they want to think that this is just the same life they had before, No, it's going to work against you. And so that's the thing with the JJ mentality, is that you are making room for the new world. And the new world are the new viruses. That's what the new world is. The old world is the old viruses and our acceptance of the rate of death and the rate of decline and the rate of birth and all of that and the life and all that. But now the new world is excessive upgrades, excessive evolution, excessive viral mutations. And you're going to have to face not only what you've been pushing back with your diets and all your different therapies, but now the new stuff that's coming in. And then you have to deal with everyone around you who is purging out their own Pandora's box because they are reacting to this environment very violently. Even with all their therapies, they still have to deal with other things that are not being therapized against, and they're going to be communicable. Every time you're around a person, you're taking on their spores. They are inseminating you left and right, men and women. Okay, so that's why it doesn't really matter, this sexual orientation, because people are inseminating each other left and right, and that it is through talking or through actual direct contact, or you're hanging out together and you're all, in your men's club, in your women's club, in your homogenized waspy country clubs, and you're all just sharing spores in the showers, in the saunas, in the hot rooms, whatever, in the yogas, and you're all sweating, you're going to the concert, you're inseminating each other because everyone's wall-to-wall people packed with sweat and they're moshing together. I'm telling you, the world that we lived in before was relatively okay. Now you do that, it'll shorten your lifespan. And then when someone who thought that they were healthy relative to what everybody thought, and they die from a heart attack, they're just like, damn, she just posted 12 hours ago. How the hell did she just die from a heart attack? That's spontaneous, but it's not spontaneous. She had a lot of stuff going on inside, and she didn't realize that the environment is really aggressive, and she, was too busy with her anti-V and all of her activism, and she took on some kind of virus that did the reparations overnight. Probably didn't wake up from a heart attack in the middle of the night, because that's what things happen, is really in the middle of the night. That's when I'm blowing my nose a lot. That's when I'm feeling probably all the things that you're supposed to feel when the body is going through that reparations in the other side. Because when you're asleep, you're in another realm. When you think about it, your body's going through a lot. Your body's going through another simulation. And it might be telling you stuff, warning you stuff, or it also might be repairing stuff. Or or it'll be pushing memories through your capillaries and your arteries and your blood vessels. And if your capillaries, arteries, and blood vessels are not up to par, and it's trying to push the memories through, and you don't have what it takes, people don't survive strokes and heart attacks overnight. Okay? And so, let me tell you, when my husband first felt the environment back in 9/11/2020, he went through a simulation of sorts, and it was a little scary for him. He fainted. He fainted. And then he came to, so he went from an old simulation to a new one, and now he's steadily feeling the new one. But some people, when they faint, they don't wake up. He had the strength to wake up. But a lesser person would have died from that aggressive exposure. Because we went to a bachelor party not too long before that. We went to a bachelor party in 7 July? And so we were taking on spores in the summer of 2020. And then in the fall of 2020, we were getting ready for a wedding, and he couldn't go to the rehearsal or the wedding because he got a major attack. Well, yeah, you took on all those spores at that bachelorette party or bachelor party. You took on so many spores, and they finally reconciled with him and forced him to level up. And if he didn't have what it takes, that virus was the judge, jury, and executioner. And so that's what I'm saying, you guys. You don't realize how aggressive this environment is until you start feeling your environment. And if you're under a therapy, you just bypass your first and second lines of defense. That's what those vector therapies do. You don't exercise your own immunity because you have to cough. When I'm coughing, I'm telling my body, when that frequency is up by coughing, I'm telling my body that it needs to develop an immunity because it's under attack. Not take on somebody else's programming through the therapies market and then bypassing my own lines of defense. No, I have to tell my own body, because This is sensitive enough when I breathe in pollen that has spores in there from everybody and their mother, and my body can take on some of it, yes, but anything that's excess, it starts coughing out. And so I sneeze like 20 times in a row. My nose is just like a faucet for maybe like an hour. Maybe I'm a little tired. Maybe I'm coughing. Then it triggers the coughing mechanism. Like I could feel that coughing in that little area open up. Now it's closed because I'm pretty much okay. But I've been under that line of defense of building up my immunity by coughing. And if you're not doing that, then you are atrophying not only your first lines of defense, but also your second lines of defense, and you're taking in the spores as you're hanging out with your friends and family and associations and doing your job, and everything is copulating inside, creating new viral babies. You have replication. You could be having tumors, and you don't even know it because it's stuck between an organ. It's not at the surface of the skin where you can feel it. You won't know it's there until you feel a major pain, and then you're going to go get x-rays. And they're like, oh yeah, we see a mass right here. Oh shit. That's why they tell you to go get tested all the time so you catch it early so it doesn't become out of control. But why even go down that road? Why not just build your own immunity? And that means coughing. See, the holistic world, the natural remedies world, are like, oh yeah, I have an immune system. I built up my immune system. How? You're taking your fucking remedies. You're taking your elderberry syrup, your cough suppressants, your turmeric and your honey and your apple cider vinegar and all your little shit. And you're saying you're building up your immunity? No, you're causing more of the viral pandemic and more of the mutations. You know how you build your immunity? You fucking cough. You eat food. You're not on fucking diets and you're gluten-free shit. But no, that's not how the holistic world is, because they're the ones that started all this to begin with. And then they've been snowed by all their friends and their family and all their little associations and their MLMers and all the doctors in the holistic world. They're saying, oh, we're having issue with the V's and all that shit. And they're getting pulled down those rabbit holes. And they're like, yeah, I have an immune system. No, you fucking don't, because you're taking your goddamn remedies. You don't even know what it's like to fucking cough. And if you do, you try to take a cough suppressant like pineapple juice. That's why pineapple juice is all big in the holistic world to suppress the cough. And so what do? You're keeping those little things inside, and they're mutating. Eventually they'll turn into cancer or disease or chronic illness, or they will cannibalize you, and you won't survive a heart attack or stroke. So that's what's wrong with the therapies world. But are you going to tell someone who's a pro-Vir or even anti-Vir that you have to cough and you have to feel symptoms? No, because they'll tell you to go F off. They'll tell you, oh no, the doctor told me and my holistic professional told me and this influencer on YouTube who has a doctor in front of their name told me that I should be doing this, and this. Yeah, okay, well you see the order of operations in the hospital system. Regardless if they're a holistic doctor, they eventually give back their holistic people to the allopathic, because they end up in palliative care. And I've seen it in the anti-V world. You have these anti-V crunchy mamas back a couple years ago, and their kids are going to Stanford Hospital because they have an issue, and the mom's all anti-V. Well, you're so anti-V, why are you using the hospital system at Stanford? They're getting the best medical care for their son. That's the hypocrisy in the holistic world, in the anti-V world. They don't know what the fuck they're talking about, because they're being prostituted out by somebody. They don't know what they're doing. And so what do? If they don't have any kind of direction in their life, then they're going to turn to politics, religion, and science and be a prostitute for the system. And that's kind of the really blunt way of saying all the activists are. They've been turned out by all the doctors in the holistic and the allopathic world. And then guess what? These activists are making these influencers money, hand over fist. So that's why I'm saying leaders get pigeonholed. When leaders when they're so powerful, they get dazzled and corrupted by the money. They will never turn their position around. You think some of these influencers in the anti-V world will say like, oh, well, we were mistaken. We shouldn't be promoting the anti-V. We should be promoting this, and this. Because when someone's anti-V, what are they going to do? They're going to take all their alchemical remedies. They're going to do all the alchemy. They're going to overly antibioticize themselves to absolute death, and also cause more of the viral pandemic, the new viral babies. But you think someone an influencer in the anti-V world is going to change their position? No, because they've pigeonholed themselves. Just like the influencers on YouTube, that may have made a mistake about the salt and then they were demonizing salt, you think they're going to change their position and say, oh, I'm sorry, Jillian, for coming down on you and causing all people to come after you and destroy, your peace and your sanctity? They're not going to apologize to me. Fuck no. They have too much of a following. They're too dazzled by the money and their position. They're never going to change their position. Well, that's the same thing as the leaders out there. They're too pigeonholed. And so I'm saying being a follower of everybody and observing without, being discriminatory, but observing and then modifying the way you do things every time you kind of hear some new information without compromising your trajectory, that you have a much better position to move around on our side than someone who is a powerful leader and an influencer on YouTube or Facebook or in politics, religion, and science. And that's why I don't want to be anyone's guru. I don't want to be anyone's, follow me if you want, take my information and do what you want with it. And I don't need to know what you do. Just make your life better, make the world better, find some hope in this. And I don't have to know what you're doing. I just want you to have a good life and I don't have to know anything about you. But I also want to make sure you know that this is not easy, because I hate when someone mischaracterizes me. I hate when they blame me for the issues that they have and they weren't prepared for this. So that's why I'm trying to prepare you for this. So that way you don't hate me down the road either, because you've got to deal with your predispositions. And maybe I wasn't that clear, and I was, because you had to read the files back in the 60,000 person group. But those ladies on Dr. Phil, they really didn't understand. They had to deal with their predispositions. And so they mischaracterized it and they slammed the hell out of me. And then, of course, all the flipping witchy demons out there couldn't wait to go and get a piece of and get some bloodlust and sacrifice me. And so the only thing that I will have is a book, and I'll talk about the book down the road, but I want to get this out now. Why am I not writing now? I am writing. I'll be writing today. But this is important. I want you to understand how this protocol works. And so I'd rather have it out there so you know and understand and feel comfortable. And then I will have that book and then I'll talk about it. But right now we're in May 26th. And I don't plan to really have this out until by the end or beginning of next year. I want you guys to have a jump on this. Okay? And I want you to understand that it's you're going to have, now we have the infrastructure so it could support you staying home. Or you figure out how to lessen your expenses so you can afford to eat, because the food is expensive, and that you can afford that it's okay not to go to the bar every Friday night. It's okay to cut down your distractions. It's okay to wean yourself off of the cannabis and the drugs, that eventually you're not going to need them anymore. And that there is a possibility to change your direction in life. And then you're able to take on new information and learn about history and learn about science and math and I don't know, chemistry, things that you thought you weren't going to use or have any kind of relationship with. And that now you can go and just listen to someone, and eventually you'll understand someone that's a Stanford professor. You'll understand, the theory of relativity. You'll understand, the laws of thermodynamics, laws of biology, the inverse square law. You can even get a computer and start writing things out. You can go and diagram stuff. You can go and take a picture on Facebook or off the internet, and you can start drawing things. There is so much a person can do if they just got out of their own way and realized that they had such a future. That you can be innovative. You can develop something. You can publish your own books. There are so many self-publishing companies out there that you got to be watch out. Some can be kind of crazy, and I've had to deal with some pretty crazy self-publishing companies. But you do your research and whatever, and you pay your money, and then you figure out what you want to write about, and then you can illustrate your own stuff. The computers and all the different applications can help you then give you a platform. And you start using your brain. And then your kids, will then also pick up on that. And you can only imagine what kind of amazing things that people can purge out when they focus. But they have to biochemically change their operating system. It's hard to go and try to do what I'm saying on a body that is still with all the same memories that caused you to be in this suffering to begin with. So you have to go through the fire before you get to the relative equilibrium, and then you can sit and focus. You can build your own company. It could be a construction company, a landscaping company. You could go take a few classes in certain things and get a trade degree. I mean, I'll tell you, there's so many things. And you turn your life around if it's going down a really weird direction. And all of a sudden you're like, now, instead of this person that had an issue with this, now they're taking a class in this and they're making their own company in this. And that's just really like the one side of what a person can do when they're really just, at the base level. They're at the bottom of Maslow's rungs, where you're just trying to survive and eating and shelter and sleeping, and that's it. Some people have already figured out that, and they're up to a certain point where they're dealing with family and friends and all of those distractions. And so then you realize that some people don't realize who their friend, what kind of friends they have, or what they're doing with their friends, and now they have to go and shed things. Well, that's the other rung. So as you go up the rung of Maslow's ladder, you'll be dealing with some stuff that you'll have to go and figure out how you're going to position your place to redirect your trajectory, because you know that your friends and family are going to hold you back if you allow them to influence you, especially if they don't understand this. They will hold you back unless they understand this and give you the space and the freedom to not go to their party, to not go to their gathering, to not go see them every Friday night and drink a bunch of alcohol. That when your friends, the true friends, will give you the space to just do what you have to do, even if they don't see you for who knows how long. Not because they don't like you, it's because they have to change the way they do stuff. But friends that are really into all that are not going to understand that, and then they won't be your friend anymore, because that was what the relationship was predicated upon, was that you saw them every Friday night. You were their wingman. Okay, so there are people going to be dealing with that. So there's so many things that people will be dealing with that you're going to come to terms with. And that's what this whole New World Order is to redirect the people who are in ruts, that are just looping and looping and looping. They don't even know they're looping, because that's all they know. They have just that constant loop of memories. Eventually you got to go and purge those memories out and build new ones, amazing ones, productive ones. If you can handle the transition process. Okay, so food allergies and jelly juice, it's only temporary, but you got to deal with the mucus. And eventually you can eat that tomato, that fish, that milk, that peanut. But the reason why we have all these food allergies out there is because people are using food as medicine. And then someone's picking up that spore, and it's common during their system, and so they're sensitive to the food because the body thinks that it's a poison, because they took on somebody else's antibody. And they weren't strong enough, their bodies wasn't strong enough to release it. And so, the apothecary market, using food as medicine, has caused a lot of the food issues and the cancers and disease and chronic illness and all the different, just the viral pandemics. And so that's why it's a little ironic that we were all going after the medical system as if they were bad, when it was the natural market that caused all of this to begin with. The medical system came thereafter. Biotech wasn't really coined, and maybe back in 1800s, 1900s. But they were doing the alchemy way back 5,000 years ago. And that's what was the Garden of Eden, was all the alchemy. Now we got to hit a reset, because we just fucked up. We fucked up royally. All right, talk to you later. Bye.